Alrighty, welcome to episode 198 of Tokwa's Ask Us Anything. As usual, it's been a pretty busy news week. Bunnings has entered into a supply agreement whereby Tesla's Powerwalls and chargers will be available for purchase and installation from selected stores. While not yet available in WA, 4 stores have been earmarked as coming soon. At last Saturday's AGM, Sandra Giry was formally awarded lifetime Tokwa membership. This was attained due to her tireless devotion to EVs in general and the WA EV network in particular. And that was this week's news. Indeed it was, and welcome to the program. And before I ask anyone who is new to introduce themselves, I'd just like to highlight the worthiness of Sandra Giry being having life membership bestowed upon her by Tokwa. It is indisputable that no other person has had a bigger and better influence on the WAV network than Sandra, who is an employee of Synergy. And she single-handedly saw to it that external advice was sought and received and understood and acted upon, and that is basically one of the sole reasons why the WAV network is as it is, which is a modern network that is actually, it has contemporary power levels as opposed to what was originally proposed, which would have rendered it obsolete before it was even finished. So well done, Sandra. You really do deserve it, and we really are privileged to have you as a life member of our little club.
Here.
Alrighty. So if there is anyone who is new, please do unmute, and if you're comfortable in doing so, say hello and introduce yourself.
I can start. Hello. My name is
Welcome,
Wayne.
Wayne.
How you doing? I'm not new to Tesla, but I am expecting my first Tesla in a week or two, maybe 10 days, I hope, which is a Model 3 long range. So I have had a peek at your recordings before, so I sort of seem to know your format and really enjoy the pro tips. And I've got a few questions whenever the right time is. And yeah, thank you.
Fantastic, and welcome, Wayne.
Thank you.
And we'll get you to ask some questions straight away, actually, as soon as we've welcomed anyone else who would like to say hello. So if there is anyone else who would like to say hello, please do so now.
Okay, my name's Bob. I'm a
Welcome, Bob.
Model Y P owner for about 16 months. I've done about 30,000 K, about 10K of that in the country. And it's been a fantastic experience. We have 8 EVs in our family, and so there's a lot of boring chat for the others around the dinner table. I've got some questions for the group later, and one in particular for you, Harold. Thanks.
No worries. Excellent. I look forward to it. All right, let's try and go for a trifecta. Do we have a... Oh, yes, we have too. We have a third person. We've got a winner. Yes,
Thank you, Harold. Hey everyone, my name is Taufan. So I just got my Tesla Model Y rear-wheel drive, I think on last Friday. So I've been using it for a couple of days now, and I'm new to this group, and I've seen a lot of videos from this group, so it's very useful. Thank you.
Awesome. No worries. Let's try and go for a cheeky quartet. I'm pretty sure that's going to be pretty tough going, but
pushing it, Harold. Pushing it.
Let's try anyway for the pregnant pause. So, if we do have a fourth person, do we have a fourth person that would like to say hello? Actually, I'm new to this show today, so I'd like to say hello. My name's Harold Murphy. I'm the secretary of the Tesla Owners Club. Anyway, enough of that. All right, so I think our first new person was Wayne. So Wayne,
Yeah, thank you,
ask
Harold.
away.
Yeah, I'm not new to Tesla, but I am new as a user. So there might be some simple questions and no-brainers for you guys, you pros. But when I received my car, we're about to go on holiday for a couple of weeks, so it'll be sitting by itself. Should I plug it in? I've got a wall connector already installed. I'm prepared. That's already done. So should I leave it plugged in for the 2 weeks we're away? It'll probably be a week old when it's sort of sitting there.
Yes,
Is
absolutely.
first
So,
question.
sorry, what was it, a long range or a standard range car?
Long range, Model
Long
3.
range. Okay. So for the long range vehicles, sorry, James, you've got some document up there that I know you did have. Oh, okay. Um, yeah, so for the long range cars, you'll notice that when you select your charge slider, you'll see little tick marks, and uh, one will be labeled daily, and then the last two will be labeled trip. So that recommendation is that on a daily basis, you charge your car up to 80%.
Right.
And then if you're doing a trip, you temporarily charge it to 100% if you wish. And then the idea is that you basically do that preferably within an hour or so of you undertaking your trip, so that you don't let the car stew at 100%. Bearing in mind, this
Right.
is only for owners who have long range vehicles. Sorry, new owners of long range vehicles. So,
Performance cars.
well, and I was going to say there are some older owners of some standard range Model 3s, the very old ones, that
Right.
also have this situation. But
So
in any case, if you have the terms daily and trip on your charge slider, the daily sort of charging regime is you can pick well anywhere between 50 and 80%, but Tesla recommends, between those, but you can easily pick 80. If you've got a
right.
standard range car, you can use 100% all the time, although there's a slight nuance to that, which we won't get into this moment. Now, if you're on a holiday,
Mm.
of course, you can be a little bit gentler with your car if you like, with your brand new battery. And you could say pick something like, I don't know, 70% or 60%.
Okay.
And you could then just slide the slider to that level, regardless of what your state of charge currently is, and plug your car in while
Right.
you're away. Then what will
So
happen is, for example, if your car is a slightly higher state of charge than as you've left it, it will sort of droop down to meet the, let's say, 70%. And then about 4 times a day, depending, it will just take a little sip
right.
and get itself back to that percentage. And when you get back from your trip, it'll be at whatever percentage it is that you left it at.
Right. Oh, that's good. So do you think it will deplete if it wasn't plugged in, just to try and understand the battery sort of pattern? If I left it, at 70%, went away for 2 weeks and came back, would that be a problem? Just on a sort of curiosity sort of point of view, would it deplete itself just sitting there without Sentry mode switched on?
I lost 1%
No.
per day when I went overseas.
What percent?
1%.
Right. So is that an
No
argument
Sentry mode,
for
no aircon, nothing. It was over winter. It was 1% per day. So
right?
not.
But,
I mean,
but it's
I'll
better
plug
you
it in, but
don't.
I'm curious
Yeah,
to
you
see
should plug it
what would
in
happen. Yeah.
because, like, for example, things can happen. You may get delayed in your trip.
Yeah.
Your return may be delayed for whatever reason. And it's just one less thing you need to have to worry about or think about or be curious about.
Okay.
And once again, if you plug it in, it's not going to hurt the car because, as Steve just said, if you lose 1%, well, it means that you'll have 14% of the state of your car that will be replenished over those
Yeah.
couple of weeks.
All right. And if you permit me, probably a nice question. I guess, is there a run-in period for a new? I know the mechanics are very simple, but there's no run-in period. Okay, there's nothing.
No,
Don't go
no.
gentle, just drive normal.
There's only
You-
about 15 minutes or so to calibrate the cameras
Right.
for autopilot or auto steer. But apart from that, no.
Right.
So
Treat it as normal.
yeah, as
Yeah,
far as
there's
the
no run-in.
motor is concerned, yeah, there's no running.
There,
Yeah.
Oh,
there's no run-in. The run-in for petrol and diesel cars are to do with,
bedding in.
owned boards and bedding in,
Yeah.
and that just isn't a thing in
Yep.
electric cars. It
Very
literally
good.
isn't at
Very
all.
good.
So
Yeah,
you can
Wayne,
treat it
no
as
two crazy people picked up
Yeah.
their Model Ys and then drove Conta Crop clothes around Australia, brand new. No bidding
Yeah,
in.
but we did that. Yeah, but
Fantastic.
they were very well bedded in a couple of weeks.
By the time you
They
got
they
back.
they were very well bedded in.
Oh, that's a perfect segue to the question of, is there any value in paint protection treatment, whether it's PPF or ceramic? I know you probably answered this a million times, but
No, it's totally cool. I'm going to
or
go
just doing
first.
maybe just the front panel, possibly for bugs. I don't know.
I'm going to go first and say that I've driven a collective probably 450,000 Ks in a few EVs, and not a single one of them's had paint protection ever.
Right.
That's just the way I roll. The skins are made of aluminium, so if you get when you get a stone chip
Yeah.
or tan, all that'll happen is the stone chip will look just as fresh as it did the day it happened. It doesn't
Right.
the body doesn't deteriorate, or the skin doesn't deteriorate because it's
Right.
aluminium, so it'll just look the same. My personal theory is, you could pay, I don't know, $3,000 plus for paint protection film,
Yeah.
and you get a stone chip, and what'll happen is that'll then compel you to replace that PPF because it'll look ugly or whatever.
Yeah.
And look, I've sold a few secondhand EVs, and I've never noticed any. I don't. No one's ever said, "Oh, I'm going to give you less or more for the car because the
Right.
paint was in an awesome or crappy condition." So, but that's only my humble opinion. That's what I
Right.
do myself. I don't endorse anyone does what I do
Yeah.
or anything else. So, is there anyone in the room that has applied PPF and is happy to talk to it?
I had some PPF and I found it easier for getting the bugs off. And also when I drove to Broome that time and had the squashed frogs on the undercarriage, it was easier to wash that off.
Right.
But
Maybe white. The white is more forgiving as a paint color as well,
Yeah.
possibly.
but that was on my older one. I have not put PPF on my newer one. So, Harold's it cost me about $5,500 for the full car,
Quite a lot.
and I
Yeah.
didn't quite feel the value in doing that again.
Thank you so
Wait,
much.
I've got 5 Teslas that I rent out, and renters treat cars differently than owners treat their own cars. And similar to Harold, none of those 5 cars have got any paint protection film. The first one has done 130,000 kilometres now. It's over 5 years old, and that was a 2019, a black paint, which was famously incredibly soft. It was just an error in the curing process. They worked out afterwards that had they left one of the layers cure for an extra minute, it would have been perfectly fine. So that paint is so soft that if I press extra hard with a microfiber cloth, it could scratch it. I mean, I'd have to
Yeah.
put quite a bit of pressure on it, but
Sure.
yeah, it is extra soft. And look, across the 5 cars, I could have spent $25,000 now on paint protection film. For that amount of money, I could almost buy a second-hand Model 3 now.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Good points. Thank you.
Can I just say something to that subject? Because I've just got a new Model Y after my Model 3. And I did actually have a paint protection put on, maybe because my son has a mate whose job it is to do that. So maybe my price was a bit lower than normal. But I must say, I was very skeptical about these things. And I've had it for 2 or 3 weeks now. And at the beginning, you're not supposed to wash it with anything and so on. So I've been to Beverley a couple of times, and the front of the car was absolutely peppered with flies and bugs and stuff. And what I did is I just foamed it. Apparently that's the way to do it, is you put this foam on and leave it for a while, and then just pressure hose it off again. And I must say, I never touched it with anything else. Just the pressure hose just took everything off. I was quite amazed, actually, how
Oh,
easily all the bugs came off with very little effort at all. So anyway, for me, I think it's
There
It was cheaper, and maybe it was. I think it was worth it anyway.
Thank you.
there is an in-between option, which is to just get the PPF on, the front of the car and maybe the mirror.
Yeah.
So for the areas, and in terms of what will be the hardest to clean, it will be the bugs that accumulate on your front
Yeah.
bumper. They do stick on and they are hard to get off. So maybe put some PPF there on the mirrors and maybe just in front of the rear wheels. There's a section that comes out that can get pretty hard to clean as well. So that's another option too.
Excellent. Thank you.
Can I just
Right.
ask? Oh,
Yes,
sorry.
Stefan. Yeah, go on.
As I said, I've got a new Model Y, and I'm having a little bit of a problem with the phone key. It's very erratic. It sometimes works, and it sometimes doesn't work. Then I have to go to my phone and unlock it and start it. And then the next day, the next time, it works all right again. Has anybody had any problems with that?
Yes. Do you have an iPhone?
No, I haven't. I've got
Oh.
a normal phone. It's
Oh, okay. All right. Has anyone who has an Android? Sorry?
Android phone. There's an Android phone.
Say again, Pete.
Oh, it's doing it on both now, Android as well as iPhones.
So
but,
has Android
it
gone
seems
down
to be,
has Android
Sorry, go
gone
ahead.
down the Bluetooth commandant mode, has it? Where they shut down anything that uses Bluetooth for an extended time, unless you reactivate the app, I guess.
With mine, it was playing up even when I knew Bluetooth was not only on, but it was definitely activated. So, so one common thing is what the iPhones do is if your screen is black, they turn off Bluetooth to try and conserve power. And usually it'd be enough just to press on the screen to wake the phone up, and that would work. In recent weeks, that has stopped working in that even going into the app wouldn't work, and you would actually have to go into the actual car that you're trying to open. So if you've got more than one car, it wouldn't work. And then you had to wait for a few seconds and then it would work. There was quite a few software updates that came through, mainly just bug fixes in the last 3 or 4 weeks. So I was thinking it may have been to do with that. But
So what about
mine all of a
Android
sudden-
phones?
Yeah, so I've had 2 people that have rung me, and they both have Androids that have had the same issue, and now we're hearing still well. So seems to be not just iPhones anymore.
There's nothing
Stefan,
that they can fix, or there's no good going to service and saying, "Hey, can you fix this?"
No, it's a known thing, unfortunately. Look, unless it's particularly unusual, like really incessant, it's probably service will probably just say that that's a characteristic of the operating system of the phones. The problem is that Tesla uses the phone key, so it's using Bluetooth, and it's the app interacting with Bluetooth through the operating system of the phone. And it used to notoriously be, Apple sort of started this because there's an imperative to save battery or to extend battery life, because these phone makers and corporations just insist on spruiking that they have the longest battery life of all the other phones. And something that does consume a little bit of battery is obviously wireless communication. And the car relies on, or Tesla relies on the phone having like a beacon or having its Bluetooth active. So then it can basically ping the car and tell the car that your phone is nearby, and therefore to unlock the car and then allow you to enter. Now, something that you might find that I found that's quite annoying, and this is not a Bluetooth thing per se, but it's a change in the way car responds to certain things is if you have your car plugged in to a charge cable, or even if it's just in your garage and you want to open the charge port, you can't actually go into your phone app and press the lightning symbol, which is your charge symbol, to unlock or open the charge port door. The only way you can do it, because it's actually grayed out, the only way you can do it is unlock the car and then the grayed out lightning bolt will appear. So I don't know if you've had that sort of problem, Stefan, where it's a phone related thing, but it's not the phone, it's actually Tesla's way they're actually changing the behavior of the car in the way it responds to the internet. So again, a separate thing that Tesla's trying to do is also save power and not and cut down on vampire drain. So there's a few things that have happened in the last couple of software updates. And one of those is if you just go and open your Tesla app and select your car, or if it's the only car in your app, rather than that being a prompt for the mothership to go and talk to the car and wake it up if it was asleep, it would just basically show you in the app what the last known status of the car was. And it wouldn't actually do anything unless you actively prompted it to do something. So you selected a certain menu item or something that then might prompt the car to be woken up. And every time you wake up a car, it consumes a little bit of energy before it decides to go back to sleep. So there's sort of like a bit of a confluence of several things going on with phone operating systems being more and more keen to shut down ongoing Bluetooth activation, especially when the app is not literally open or active. Well, not active, but open as your main screen. So yeah, it is a bit annoying. But if in your case you are finding it particularly debilitating,
Well, it's
there's a
not that.
very slim chance there might be something that's going on with your Bluetooth receiver in your car, but it's probably not.
Yeah, when it's not, it is a bit annoying because I'm just used to walking up to the car and getting in, and sometimes it just won't open, it doesn't unlock. And then you get in the car and then it shows the screen with a bloody card, and I think, oh, you've got to get your phone out of the pocket and start it. But with the charging thing, I haven't had a problem there. Usually I can just push the button on the charge plug and it opens the thing.
Yep.
And if that doesn't work, then I just tap it and it opens. So that's not really a problem.
One thing you could do is just ensure that on your app you've got all the permissions turned on. So things like allowing it to know your position while the app is in the background. I don't know if Android's got the motion activity linked to the app, so maybe enable that. And if all that fails, you can just get rid of the key and just re-enable it, restart it.
Yeah.
Relink it. Yep.
Okay. All right.
Alrighty. Thanks, Stefan. Okay. I think Bob, you were next because you were number 2.
Yeah, thanks, Harold.
So ask away.
I've been trying to chase you down for about 3 weeks by various means, but I understand you're a very busy man. My question is,
I think 3 weeks ago. 3 weeks ago, I was
yes,
probably in Tasmania, but I can't remember.
Yeah. My question is, where did you get your rear wheel camber nose from, and who installed them for you?
I ordered it from Mountain Pass. I think it's Mountain Pass Performance. It's an American company, so you just Google Mountain Pass.
Yep.
They are not the only company that makes them.
Sure.
Or that supplies them, but I did it on a whim and just ordered it, and I think I got it within about 7 days. And from memory, it's not cheap. It cost me about $750 landed into Australia.
Yep. And did you do it yourself?
No, I was too lazy. I got, well, I looked up the address for John Fowler Performance. Well, no, John Fowler Motorsport, something like that. But they actually call themselves something else when you actually get there. But they're in Malaga, and that cost me, I can't remember now, $300 or $400, which
Yeah,
in hindsight, well, that included a wheel alignment,
yeah,
obviously, because it has to be aligned. And I
yeah.
instructed them to align it with the camber to be set to zero.
Right.
So,
I've got
but you can do it yourself. It's only a wishbone. It's like a leg bone, really.
yeah,
It's only got two bolts each.
yeah. I've
So,
seen the kits online, and those numbers you're talking about. I've had a couple of quotes already, um, and would you trust someone like Pedders?
oh
Uh,
yeah, I mean, look, it's just a suspension thing. I
no,
mean,
yeah,
you
yeah,
know, like I said, I was just too lazy to get under the car and do it
yeah,
myself. But
yeah,
really, it's the bread and butter of any suspension person. I mean, if they're fiddling with your suspension,
yeah,
and let's face it, in many parts when they're doing wheel alignments, they are literally loosening bolts that need to be retightened. And if they
yeah,
don't retighten things properly, bad things happen. So
yeah,
no, no, absolutely, yeah. Any suspension place would be perfectly okay, in my humble opinion.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
so yeah, that'd be fine.
The
But
only,
you have to specifically tell them, you've got to say, I want the camber in the rear set to zero,
yeah,
because they'll look up the Tesla spec, and the Tesla spec will say minus something,
yes,
plus or minus,
yes,
because that's what it's set to anyway. And it's most apparent on the performance wise because they are lowered.
yeah,
Uh, and because they're lowered by nearly an inch, it makes the camber even worse.
yeah.
And I just violently object to wasting tires. I really do.
I've been monitoring the tyre wear, and um, after 20,000, it was only 0.5 of a millimeter different between the inside and outside shoulder. So
Oh,
that's
very
pretty
good.
that's
On
pretty
the
good.
very, very edge, on the
Yeah,
absolute
on
corner of the edge.
oh, well, yeah, no, not on the corner. I could be. It's very hard to measure on the corner. Yeah, but I just
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
Oh, okay.
So I don't, unfortunately, because my computer's playing up and I can't get uh,
I've seen your
Microsoft
photos.
to,
I've seen your
yeah,
photos.
I mean, it's literally, so and this is a little bit of sage advice for anyone that's got a performance Y in particular, and just any Tesla in general, is every now and then have a look at your tires, but don't do what I've often done, which is run my fingers along the main deep grooves of the tread to
Mm,
feel the tread wear indicators, because they will always be fine. In fact, I have done that on my latest trip. It wasn't the latest one, it was the second latest one on the figure eight on the caravan. And I was at Mundrabilla, and I thought, oh, I better go and have a proper look at my rear tires. And sure enough, the left rear was down to belts.
mm,
So, but if you feel the three deep grooves where you've got those tread wear indicators,
yeah,
they were fine. There was plenty of meat. And
yeah,
even if you look at the tread blocks, there's still meat on the innermost tread block, except for the extreme
yeah, yeah,
edge on the corner. And that's
yeah,
the thing that you always miss.
yeah,
And so yeah, please do. And yeah, you can use depth gauges,
yeah,
like this, but it's kind of meaningless because there almost is no tread depth at the very corner because it's
yeah,
sort of shoulders off. So
yes,
yeah, anyway, but please do check your tires sporadically, because just having a cursory look, you may find out down the road that your tire is going to suddenly deflate. Which, by the way, in Teslas seem to happen very smoothly. I had a deflation in less than 2 seconds, doing 100 and no, it was probably nearly 110 k's an hour actually, or maybe 100, and the car was very stable,
mm,
very stable. But it's just something you don't want to have to put up with. especially if you don't have a spare. But yeah, there you go, Bob. Anything else?
Okay.
I think you're going to ask me something else as well.
No,
Was that it?
I'll give others a go. Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right. Well, we'll come back to you. Talfan, have you got any questions as a new owner?
Thank you, Harold. Yeah, I do have a question. So basically, before I purchased the Tesla Y standard range, I didn't really look at the options of charging, and then I've been learning about it, and then I started to understand that home charging is the better options actually. So I had a problem right now where I've already purchased my mobile charging, the UMC charging from
Yep.
Tesla shop from the
Yep.
8, and it was supposed to come on the 15. But what happened is that there is a problem with the courier, and I didn't get a proper tracking updates. It says that when they tried to pick up from the Tesla shop, okay, the sender was not available and awaiting for the senders to rearrange the pickup kind of a things. I tried to contact Tesla since a while ago, since 15th of November. I got a response, yes, you got my attentions right now. We're trying to escalate, but I got nothing. I got no status update or anything. And this left me with no charging options. I've been charging my Tesla Y into the supercharging. I think it's been 2 times right now, and the other one is in the rapid charging near to my area. I know that's probably not the best options for the car battery. So I'm running out of options right now. And then I tried to buy the Type 2 cable online from somebody. And the Australia Post also had the same shipping issue. So I'm running out of
Yeah.
options right
No,
now.
no.
So
Right.
any suggestion on that?
Yes, we can fix that. So for a whole $20 per annum, you can join TOCWA. So if you just go, that's the Tesla Owners Club of WA.
Oh yes, I've
And
joined that.
oh, you've joined. Okay, great.
Yeah,
Well, one of the perks
I'm the
is
member.
cool. So one of the perks of being a member is that you can borrow various loan items from us. And one of the
Oh, okay,
things that
that's
you
great.
can borrow from us is a UMC. So it's a
Oh,
universal mobile connector. So if you give me a call, if you give Tokra a call tomorrow on our hotline, which is if you got a pen,
just hang on a
is
second. Sorry, just give me a
or
second.
you can type it on your device.
Yes. What's the
It's
number?
6262
Yeah,
3131.
62623131.
Yeah. So if you give the hotline a call, you'll get in contact with us, and then we can arrange to lend you a UMC until you get yours.
Oh, okay, that would be perfect. And the other question is that if I keep charging my battery for temporary right now to the supercharging station, will it degenerate my battery faster than usual?
Uh, Technically, by a minuscule amount, that's probably immeasurable,
Oh, okay.
effectively. So
Hmm.
in theoretically, yes, practically, no. So don't worry about it. The
Okay.
cars know how to manage themselves. They look after themselves very well. So
Hmm.
don't worry at all. But
Okay.
obviously, it's in your interest to charge at home using the UMC or any other
Hmm.
device for that
Hmm.
matter, because it's a lot cheaper. So it's less than half price to
Yeah.
charge at home.
No idle
So
fees.
well, there's no idle fees, but
At
but
home, there's no idle fees.
good. That's right. But good Tesla
Okay.
owners don't have idle fees at superchargers because they get back promptly when the car's done.
Mhm.
But yeah, so like I said, give the helpline a call tomorrow,
Oh, well.
and we'll arrange for you to be able to collect a UMC
Oh, that would be
and
good.
borrow it until you get yours.
Thanks a lot, Harold. That really helps. And sorry, the second quick question is perhaps do we usually need to preconditions our battery before the home charging or before like a long departure or long journey?
So the preconditioning that you've found only happens when you navigate to a supercharger, or if you navigate to a known fast DC charger that Tesla knows about in their map. So
Okay.
when you look at your map in the upper left-hand corner, there are a couple of icons, and one is a lightning bolt icon. And when you press on that, it will show, depending on where you are, obviously superchargers, and it will show some other non-Tesla fast DC chargers. And if you select one of those and navigate to it, then depending on how warm your car is, or the battery, and how far away you are from it, it will start to precondition the battery to warm it up so that it can supercharge faster.
Thank you.
But at
How
home,
about
on any other charger, it doesn't do it. It never preconditions for AC charging ever.
how about the schedule the preconditions by in the mobile apps?
Yeah, so the main function of the scheduled departure, it's really for people, well, it doesn't really apply sort of in warm climates. But if you're in a particularly cold climate, what it will do is you can say that you want your car to be ready for departure, I don't know, say 7 a.m., and it will precondition it'll warm the cabin up, like it'll set the cabin to the temperature. The presumption is it'll warm it. It'll also warm your battery pack, and that will also help it, say if it's a cold climate, to keep the car warm as you're driving to work, because these cars have heat pumps, so it's like a reverse cycle aircon, and the car is very clever in the way it extracts energy. It basically gets energy from the cheapest source. So, for example, if it's winter and it's cold outside, and you're say it's, I don't know, 5 degrees outside, and you're in a garage and your battery is, I don't know, 15 degrees perhaps, it will actually pull heat out of the battery pack and feed it into the cabin, because it's a cheaper source of, more efficient source of heat. So that could then make your battery even colder, which then if you had to fast DC charge it or whatever at a later time, that's kind of less efficient. So the main purpose of scheduled departure, or preconditioning, sorry, is to get your car notionally warmer. I mean, if it's a hot summer's day or morning, it takes your car, I don't know, 3 minutes to get to temperature. So you could just jump in the car as it is, and it will be to temperature. So look, it doesn't hurt if you like your car to do that. It's nice. It's nice for it to be nice and toasty and warm in winter, and in summer it probably won't actually do much. It'd probably just barely turn the air conditioner on, and it'll just sit there idling, doing not very much, if you do scheduled preconditioning.
Okay. Thanks a lot, Harold.
No worries.
Taufan, just previous question, just to give you a bit more confidence in the answer that Harold gave you. So Harold is 100% right. There was actually a study done by a company called Recurrent, where they've looked at several tens of thousands of Teslas, and ones that had been charged almost exclusively on superchargers versus ones that were hardly ever charged on superchargers. And they looked at the battery degradation between the two groups, and there was hardly any noticeable, hardly any degradation that you could argue was materially statistically significant. Let's put it that way. So yeah, so exactly what Harold said. You know, it's that there may be a small difference, but it's almost immeasurable. So yeah, charging at superchargers, one of the great advantages of Teslas is not just the battery and the battery chemistry, but it's also the battery management system, and how it communicates with the supercharger, and how it preconditions, and how it looks after the battery. So yeah,
Okay.
I don't
Thanks a
think
lot.
you've got too much to worry about there. But yeah, you're absolutely right. The best way to charge is to charge at home. And that way, you know, when you get into the car, you usually have 8 or 10. Sorry?
Okay.
Alrighty. Now,
Thanks,
since you mentioned re-mentioned charging, Pete, last week we had some discussions around the WAV network, and there was talk of a temporary diesel generator going out to Kaiguna. So if we have a look at PlugShare, we can see that someone's posted up an image of the charger. So it's actually in the same location. It's not actually at the WAV network site, which is next to Kaiguna Roadhouse, but that site wasn't quite prepared enough. The groundworks weren't quite firm enough to place this charger. So there's a photo of the charger. Now, it's a bit hard to see the writing on the side of it. So let me just make that a bit better. So I actually got a photo of it a few days ago before it was sent. And this is the photo. And if you zoom in, it basically says this EV charger is powered by this temporary generator running off waste vegetable oil. We are working to complete our solar/battery system, which will be ready shortly. So that's the word of it according to Horizon Power. So they say shortly. It's not a Elon 2 weeks. Now I think it's going to take a bit longer than that, but that's what the charger says, and that's presently at Kaiguna.
I was out there this morning. In fact, it charged at 60 kilowatts, and it was very nice.
You know, the irony of that, Richard, is that this temporary solution will have a higher rate of charge than the permanent solution, which will be restricted to 50 kilowatts. But be that as it may,
As long as it works, that's the main thing.
that's all it has to do.
Work reliably.
It's like a pub. A pub just needs to have beer, and a fast DC charging location just needs to pump out electrons quickly. And as long as both of those things do that, then they're both good. And if either of them don't, it's all bad.
When a charger, like when KFC runs out of chicken, it's really only got one purpose, and that's to be available and reliable. So, just one quick thing, just going back to Wayne and Tao Fan. So one of you, I think, said that you were expecting your car. There's a article on our website. If you just Google what to expect when you're expecting your Tesla, and after that, put in TOCWA, or TOCWA, which stands for Tesla Global WA. You'll find an article which may be helpful.
Great. Thanks, Pete.
No worries.
Thanks, Pete.
Alrighty. So has anyone else got any questions or comments?
I've got a comment relating to a few weeks ago. They were there was a comment and talk about.
Actually, sorry, Bob. I just noticed. Paul, did you put your hand up before? Sorry, I didn't see that. My apologies.
No, that's okay. I'm late to the party. I had some things to do, but I'll wait in turn. That's fine.
Yeah, all right. My sincere apologies. I just noticed out of the corner of my eye just as you were talking, Bob. So sorry, Paul.
I just started before Bob. That's fine.
Go ahead, Bob, and then we'll go straight to you, Paul.
No, this is just a comment about a few weeks ago. There was mention about paints for rim rash.
Yes.
The mob I've been dealing with is Variety Paints in Wangara, and there's a fellow there who runs a store. He's got a black Performance 3, and he has already tinted up a number of shades. And if you bring the car into him, he'll connect you up. And if it's not there, he'll mix it. He'll match it, and the matching is brilliantly done. And it's available as a spray can or as a liquid. And if you've got just mild scratches, the spray can is fine. If not, the liquid, dabbing it on fills in a little bit, has a bit of bulk to it. and it works really well. And I don't know whether
Sorry, is this a service he does, or is this a product he supplies so you can do it yourself, or both?
No, it's just he just supplies the paint.
Oh, right. Okay, cool.
And you mix the paint to your tone. Yeah. That's it. Yeah.
The variety paints where?
In Wangara.
Wangara, great stuff.
Yeah. And ask for the guy with the black Tesla, and he's really good. He's right on the ball. He gives good service. He wants to talk Tesla, and he's the sort of guy you want to deal with. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, good. That's a good tip. Okay, so we're getting. Sorry, I'm just going to have to put you on. Don Bone, I'm sorry, going to put you on mute because you were echoing badly. Okay, Paul, I think it was, you had your hand up.
Hi, sorry, late for the party. My wife had to fly to the eastern states and we got tied up on a few things because the flights were late. That's okay. I apologise firstly because I did nominate to go to the AGM and I got tied up with some family stuff at the end of the day, and I'm late to today. I hope everything went well. And
actually, sorry, and now I'm going to have this. I'm going to since you've just segued to the AGM, something I did also want to acknowledge was Steve Dax. He's in the room, and congratulations to him at the AGM. He was elected unopposed along with 3 other committee members. So congratulations, Steve. Just thought I'd acknowledge that as part of the AGM. But yes, so sorry, Paul. So you couldn't make it to AGM, so you missed out on seeing Steve there.
And thanks for that, Harold.
Yeah, apologies. I meant to do it after the Sandra thing, but anyway, it just got into the flow. But yes, so sorry, Paul. Go ahead.
No, that's okay. I'm heading to the States in January, and I've arranged to pick up a Tesla as a hire car, and I'm holding on to it for about 10 days, even though I'm going to be in conference for about 4 because it's cheaper to just hold on to it and keep it than try and do other things. Does anyone have any things I really need to be aware of? I'm hiring out of LAX. It's with Hertz. I'm a Hertz Club member. When I look at the charging facility, where I'm going to in Ojai, which is about an hour and a half out of LA, Ojai Valley, just north of Ventura, they have at the Valley, they have 8 superchargers on site. So I took a photo of that when I was there 4 years ago. So I'm not worried about charging up there. I'm just looking for any tips and tricks, or if anyone has any things I need to be aware of. I'm pretty comfortable that I'm driving from LAX to Ojai. We'll be there and it won't do anything for a few days. We'll come back and then we'll drive from down to Ventura or Laguna Keys and then into San Diego, and then I'll drop it back off at the airport. I'm pretty confident I won't have any charging issues, but if people have any tips and tricks, I'm just guessing that I'll just go from Tesla superchargers to supercharger. What does everyone think on that?
They're so it's just ridiculously ubiquitous. So you just wouldn't bother with anything
Pete's nodding, but I like that thing.
I've hired a Model 3 a few years ago in San Francisco, because that's near San Francisco. But
there's a million of them.
It's all the same. There's so many superchargers. It's just not funny. The only thing you're going to find probably annoying is I doubt that Hertz will provide you with app access. So it means you're going to have to do the old retro thing with your card, your RFID card, to get in and out of the car. Now that does mean something when you are supercharging, because of course you don't want to get hit up with idle fees. And that's what I found quite annoying was my wife and I were at a restaurant, but I found myself sort of at about the half-hour mark going, I better go and check the car because I didn't know what its state of charge is because I didn't have app access. In fact, actually, I ended up getting app access because it was a Turo car that I rented, and I then sent a message. And then I asked, this is in the days before you could do delegated access. So
Yeah.
this gentleman actually gave me his password for his whole
Yeah.
account, in which case I could then scroll through all his cars he had and see where they were and what they were doing. But
no, I'm not, Harold, I'm not stressed about that because LA to, well, from Ojai to where we're going overnight, they have a charger there as well. It's a destination charger. Then to San Diego is, I probably only have to charge twice anyway, even if I have to do that. And that's to drop off.
So my question of you is, why didn't you hire a Cybertruck?
You can't. Yes. Yeah. No. No, you make too much money, Harold. No, I didn't. Sorry.
I so don't. I really don't.
It's two things. My wife doesn't like them. I think they're ugly. I own a Tesla because it's simplicity. It's easy. I have solar, and it costs me like zero, literally, because I'm retired, so it charges between the days, and if I have to pay for it with my rate between 9 and 3, it costs me what I think Pete said. What is it? $4.60 to charge at 0.0 cents from 0 to 60% or whatever to 80%. Yeah, no, no. I didn't see one, but yeah, no. The wife will probably.
That's all right.
It's going to sit idle for 4 days while we're in conference, so it's like it's cheaper to do that than try and do transfers. But
yeah. No, it's all good. Like I said, the most annoying thing you'll find is you've got to use your RFID card to get access to the car. That's just annoying.
That's right. Can I ask one more question? I have a really odd thing. So I live in Dianella, and I drive to the airport a bit when I'm dropping my wife off or whatever. So we go down Morley Drive and we hit the underpass to turn on to Tonkin, and the wipers go on every time without fail. Is that a set point for? Is that a geo point to do something? You know what I'm saying, don't you? So Morley Drive.
No. It'll be that's the roundabout
underpass. Yeah.
So what it would be more likely to be is as you are transitioning between the bridges and you've got that sort of gap of blue sky or sky. Yeah. There must be it must be interacting with something. Maybe there's have a close look at where your cameras are in your car. Because, I mean, I've personally seen
that's a funny thing. It's nothing else.
Yeah, I've seen a little spider do a little nest in like a little mini nest where the cameras are, or sort of not actually where the camera is, but towards where the cowling is. So you've got like a bit of felt. In fact, if you go into service mode of your car, if you're curious to see what the car sees, if you go into where it says software.
Yeah.
And it's got an image of the car and it's got the name of the car, as in the model name. So Model 3, Model Y, whatever. You press and hold on that word and then you let for a few seconds and let go. And then it'll have a little a little prompt that says code. If you put in the word service, lowercase, SERVICE, you then go into service mode. You'll get a warning that says it has to connect to a portal.
I've seen the video on that,
Yeah, so then once you're in service mode, you can go and look at your cameras. So you can go to I forget exactly the menu item, but it's either autopilot or it's cameras or something like that. And you can actually view all the cameras. And if you view the ultra wide camera to get a preview of it, you'll actually see that it can see this little box section where the cameras are, and there's a bit of felt to sort of try and stop reflections. So one annoying thing is that the car insists when you're on autopilot to have automatic windscreen wipers on. They're on auto.
Yeah, yes.
And if while you're driving, or if you've got sexy buttons, which inhibits this function, the car will at random intervals, quite regular but random intervals, sneakily re-enable automatic wipers because it presumes that you've either got sexy buttons or you're just someone who incessantly keeps
I don't have any sexy button settings or anything.
No, but your car will always have auto wipers on.
No, it does. Yeah, I know that.
Yeah. And one problem with auto wipers is if you've got like an insect a squashed insect or fly poo or a
No,
little
I've done.
glint in
I've
the
checked all that.
windscreen.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
if the car goes through a certain formation that makes it look like a raindrop in its imagination, then it will do it. So the fact that you're saying that it does it every single time you go under this thing is plausible, because obviously there's some aspect of the way the cameras are seeing something
Oh, it's
that
just
it's
it's a
misinterpreting.
it's a funny
Yeah.
thing, Harold. It's not. You know,
Yeah.
I'm not sending emails to Elon and saying you need to fix this. It's like I'm over that shit. You know, like it's like
Actually, no, please,
I don't
please do.
control it. I'm happy for it to happen.
You're a retired gentleman. You should send emails to Elon saying, please allow us Tesla owners to be grown-ups and turn off auto wipers at our own risk, so that the worst thing can happen.
Yeah, I know. Look, I cannot look. I was part of the team that pioneered autonomous haul trucks into Australia in 2008, so I know autonomy very well, and I smile and nod, and I know the risks, and I know when I've been in San Francisco and they've got the autonomous taxis, and you see all the stuff, and it's lovely and it's great, but it's only as strong as the other people. Like autonomy and the stuff that Tesla and all the other manufacturers use with radar and LiDAR and all that other interaction is fantastic, but it's still only as strong as the other person that's going to try and jump in front of the car and put their brake lights on and brake the emergency brake. So, and that happened. I had a Jag. It's the same thing. Someone jumped in front of the Jag and slammed the brakes on the Jag, the Lexus. They all go into that mode. So yeah, no, I'll let someone else do the writing. You do well with that. So I'll tip my glass to you, and
I just get all frustrated and go, come on, because if you've got, for
it's
example,
frustrating.
if you've got an old Model X, Tesla because that never had adaptive automatic wipers originally as a requirement on autopilot, they don't bother to enforce it later in subsequent software updates. And the thing is, the worst thing that can happen is if autopilot can't see properly, it will just give you the red steering wheel of death, blare that super loud and annoying alarm saying, take over immediately, I'm disconnecting, if it can't see properly. So anyway, that's my little
and that's no different to the 300-ton trucks we had. I mean, like people say, the smart trucks, they're as dumb as dog shit. If they see something, they stop. So loop technology now is what you're seeing in San Francisco, where cars go around things. If there's an obstacle there, then they send information back to another transceiver. But I'm a lazy Tesla owner. I let it do what it does, and it does it very well. And it's like I'm happy. I don't, I don't need all the auto drive stuff. I still like to have some sort of control. But anyway. So, thank you. That's all I had, and thank you for the rim rash stuff. I've got some stuff I need to fix as well. But again, I'll back out and listen to what everyone else has to say.
Paul, just
yeah,
you rent your car from Hertz. It won't have premium connectivity, most likely. So if you're into your podcasts or gig or streaming or what have you, just try and play that through Bluetooth off your phone. That's a workaround. But if there's any other features that you rely on, in the car usually, just remember, probably won't have premium connectivity turned on.
Yeah, thanks, Pete. The biggest thing is for us is we like to cruise with a little bit of, even Moira doesn't like to listen to that much music, but that's the extent of us. I use. If I'm waiting for her and she's doing other stuff, I have everything. I'm watching all the when I'm parked, of course. But driving wise, I just need to go from there to there with a little bit of music. But you're just saying just Bluetooth everything in.
While you're parked, you can actually. Sorry, I think Harold, you're about to say what I was going to say. So you go.
No, not at all. No. One thing that just occurred to me was, bring, if you've got a spare one, they're cheap as chips. Just bring yourself a spare thumb drive, so that just in case there isn't a memory stick in the glove box
Yes.
of
Yeah,
the car
I have. Yeah.
for not
Sentry
Sentry
mode.
mode. Well, Sentry mode
Dash cam.
and dash cam.
Yeah.
And in
Yeah.
fact,
No,
even if there is
good
a
call.
one,
Yeah.
just whip it
100%.
out and put yours in,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
then you can basically keep any of the recordings. So then you don't have to faff around with a laptop to extract them or whatever to preserve them. You can just keep the stick with you, just in case something happens. You know.
So I
and-
could just take the stick out of one of my car, take it with me.
Well, yes, you
My
could.
car's not going
Yes.
to be driven
Yeah,
by me,
yeah,
really.
yeah, no, absolutely. Yes, you could. Yes.
Because that's
Or you
easy.
just go-
It's smaller.
Yes.
It fits better
True.
than the
But
other one.
the only thing is that you don't want to forget
Yeah.
it. Look, you just go to
Ah,
Officeworks
yes.
and get one for $20. You get a
Well, maybe I have. I think I've got one. I've got about 7 of them in that drawer. Because
You want to get the what are they called? There's different. Because
no, it won't matter.
there'll be-
No, it won't matter. It won't matter because he's using it for 2 weeks. So it's literally immaterial. It's not going to wear out in 2 weeks. Just any.
no, I've got 24, 64s. I've got everything. I've got more. Everything you can think of.
Bring one
Well,
just in
choose
case.
the-
Sorry, Pete, I missed that.
Oh, so just choose the. I don't know what the wording is, but the more extreme one, because there will be recording 4 different video streams at the same time.
Yeah, so the 128 gig should be fine. Yeah.
Yeah. it'll
Oh
be
yeah,
fine.
yeah. In fact, it won't take anything over 256 gig. So
Yeah, I read that. Yes, and I tried and
Yeah.
it didn't work. Yeah, they were right.
Yeah. make sure it's 256 gig or less.
Yeah.
And if you've got a choice, might as well go for the extreme one.
Yeah, I've got a selection of those, so it will be fun, I'm sure.
Cool.
Can I pop
Well,
in with
enjoy
a
it.
question,
Enjoy the
please?
trip. Yes.
So-
Yes, Roz.
Hi. Today I drove the Leaf instead of the Tesla, and I can park it okay. Why can I not park my Tesla straight? What is different about it that means I can't park it properly?
Oh, look, it'll just be the shape of it and the sitting position and the way the mirrors work. One thing that I do is when you go in reverse, you can
Yeah.
see the lineup of the you can see the lineup of the reverse lines, the guidelines. So that'll give
Yeah.
you that sort of direction. But look, I actually revert because I've sort of sometimes found myself, I would tick myself off because I'm not perfectly parallel to the lines. And I go, oh, I look like
Crappy
some sort of
Tesla driver can't park
like a
properly.
useless Tesla driver sort of thing. So
Yeah.
a couple of things I've learned through the years, and it's a great tip I try and tell my kids, is when you're reversing in particular, rather than necessarily looking behind you all the time, look forwards and you can actually get a better gauge of whether you're straight or not if you're in line with the bays in front of you, because they're all in the same direction and they're all
Yeah.
in line. So that's a little tip I sort of use. If you've got the enhanced visualization rather than the ultrasonic visualization for object detection, so that's a setting in your, I think it might be safety or autopilot. I think it might be in the autopilot section of the menu.
Okay.
And you use the enhanced visual detection or something, I think it's called. Unless it's someone, there's not, oh no, Paul isn't in the car. But so what I actually, and that's funny, I only just noticed this today actually, is when you're reversing, and again, I would sometimes look through my wing mirrors to see if I can see the actual lines. Well, when you look at what the car shows on the screen, it actually optically shows all of those guidelines as well, and your car in them. So you'll get a good idea whether you're straight or not just by looking, because the car actually remembers even stuff it can't see anymore. Because as you're reversing into the bay, it knows where all those lines are. So that's probably Yeah, I wouldn't be hard on yourself, Roz. It's just that obviously a Leaf is a completely different shape and layout to the
Yeah, and you
Model
see,
3.
no other cars before the Tesla have I had so much trouble, being able to park straight. I pride myself on
Yeah.
being able to park straight, but this car has really got me flummoxed, and everything I try seems to work the wrong way to what,
Yes.
But just today when I parked the Leaf and I could just instantly park it straight, no problems, going, why can't I do this in the Tesla?
Just
Roz,
practice, Rob.
Probably just the car that you're used to, but one thing that
Well, I've been used to many different cars.
Sure. There is one thing you can do is, do you use the side cameras when you're reversing?
I
So
use the
when
side
you-
mirrors, but
Yes,
not,
when you put the car into reverse,
yeah.
You can turn the side cameras.
reversing screen, and you can just slide up, and
Yeah.
it will bring up on the screen underneath the left and the right reversing camera, the B pillar, no, the
A pillar.
Pillar ones, yes.
the ones on the side of the car anyway.
Yeah.
And you'll be able to see where the lines are, and
Yeah.
then you can see how far you are from each line as you're reversing. So that's another thing that can help you. Alternatively, I presume you don't have FSD or full self-driving software on your
No.
car?
No.
And it's useless, Pete. The auto park is just embarrassing often.
Yeah.
You
I
just
would rather be able to
just gotta
park my own
park it
car,
yourself.
honestly. Yes. I think I should be and
Just
it's
practice.
noticeable that Tesla is 10 centimeters wider than other cars. It's definitely wide. It's definitely a wide car for getting in and out.
I park our car into our garage. We've got a 50-year-old house, and I literally have no more than an inch on each side of the mirror.
Mm.
And I've just learned, and I use those. I use the reversing camera and the mirrors, and those two reversing cameras down the bottom. A combination of all those, and without having to stop, I can just in one movement I can get it right into the garage.
Right.
I
Yes,
have
I
been doing
reverse
it,
into a small garage too. Yeah.
but it's probably just takes a bit more extra, getting used to.
I think once you
Roz,
get
can
a
I-
system that works,
Sorry, Pete.
go
Roz,
Paul.
can I just say, I understand what you're totally saying, because I had a Jag, Moira had a little Lexus, and we bought the Tesla. Sometimes there is too much information in front of you. You've got two side mirrors. I like what Harold says. Have a look across the front, and
Yeah.
90% of the shopping centres are like that. And you can go from left to right, and if you've got the rear camera on, what I look is how square is that to everything, because that's where it's at. Because it's when you're squaring back, that's square, and then sometimes you look up and that's not right, and then you get out of the car and you go, but it is actually right. And other times I think, I've done this really good, and I got out of the car and gone, shit.
That's terrible.
I've actually got back in the car. I do. I pride myself. I've been driving for a long time. It's like, no, that's because I'm probably the critical person of shopping centre parking people. Having said that, I now park along my way just because it's easier, and I don't get into trouble, and I'd rather the walk. I'd rather the walk than have, like bang, 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 and have 26 Century events at a shopping centre where I've been there for 30 minutes. It's like, come on, give me a break.
Yeah.
But so just I've never driven a Leaf, but the back end, because it definitely, I pull into the gym car park and I know there, and it's not imperative, but I want it to it's
Yeah,
for
but
me.
I mean, I can park my first attempt with the Tesla can be really bad, and I mean, I've driven many, many different cars over the years, and I have never had this much trouble parking a car straight.
Yeah.
So,
I just think there's it's an Elon thing. There's too much shit involved. It just needs to be.
too much information.
Do you have
we will.
do you have auto dip on your reversing? When you're reversing, do you have auto dip on your side mirrors?
No, I don't.
Yeah,
That can
get
be
that
useful.
in. That'll make a big difference
Okay.
straight away.
That will then make your line alongside you completely visible, and then you've got an immovable reference. Well, sorry, it's not immovable, but that you've got a proper reference for the whole time that you're reversing.
I think that's what I need is a proper reference while I'm reversing. So,
You can do it only if you like. You can do it on just one side, so you can choose whether to have it on both sides, both mirrors, left and right,
Okay, one
or
side.
just
Yep,
one
one
of
side
them.
might be
Because
enough. Yeah.
So
sometimes it's
Harold,
like, so just
was
two
there a
seconds,
new
Paul.
update with the
Hang on.
with the sorry?
So one thing I found, I reverse into a garage and it's pretty tight. So I make sure that my left mirror does not dip, because if it does dip, then I can't actually see what I need to see, which is the sort of like the middle of the back of the wall.
Yeah.
So I dip the right hand one. So I've got one dipped and one not dipped. And like I said, if you dip it, then it literally stares down at your back wheel. And
Right.
that's exactly where the line is, or well,
Yeah.
near. And then
Yes.
that's one thing that you can do. And like Paul sort of says, yeah, I think sometimes the reversing camera and the guided lines and all that stuff can sometimes get your brain in a weird mode where you're actually fighting it and you're getting all these weird feedback things, and it's like it's sort of not helping you for the task of driving straight.
Yeah, well, something's not
Whereas
helping me.
something
Yeah.
basic like a mirror,
Mm.
everyone knows how they work and your brain knows it, and it's you get instant feedback. So maybe
Yeah.
that's definitely something to consider. But
Thank
sorry,
you.
Paul,
I'll
so
try
you're
that.
saying
Right.
something about new software release or something?
I guess remember seeing something they said with the dipping of the mirrors was more adjustable with one of the recent releases.
Yeah, in fact, the release I just put on this evening said
it just flashed up on my
Yeah.
screen like it's 3 days ago.
Yeah.
Ross. I think it might have been more adjustable, Harold. Not sure.
Yeah, okay, cool. Oh, maybe
I mean, I've had like 3 releases in 2 days. I don't know if everyone had the same.
Yeah, I've noticed. I just did one release and then there's another one. Oh, just did that.
Ross, another just quick tip is if you're parking in your home into your garage or your carport or what have you, sometimes just putting in some cues like a hanging tennis ball, or you can go to Clark Rubber and get those rubber wheel stoppers, and you can put them on the
I've actually got a
sides.
piece
and-
off the tennis table that I know exactly where it needs to be. So yes, I reverse in
Yeah.
the piece of the tennis table. So I've got something to aim for. Yeah, thank you. Yeah. Yeah, it's
Cool.
always good.
But yeah, no, good luck with that, Ros. It's like so. You're not alone.
Oh, thank you.
And
Right.
it's good that we're actually aware of it and determined to make it better. Because I certainly am. I often tick myself off for not parking perfectly because you're sure to do that.
Well, it's just something that we have pride in doing it well. So yeah.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely.
I've had the same problems, Ross, and I've picked up a few tips there.
Right. Okay. Well, that's nice to hear. Thank you. Yeah.
Oh, and one tip, I must admit that I gave my wife because she had a little incident a year or so ago, is, and I've told my kids this as well, and this only, mind you, it only works if your wheel alignment is straight, is if you're going into a garage and you've, say, going through a roller door and you've, obviously the opening is more narrow than the rest of the garage and carport,
Which is
whatever.
what I have. Yes.
So that's always the tricky bit. And then you sometimes, I'll actually sort of angle, I park on the, I guess if you face the house, it's the right-hand side. If you're sort of reversing, it's the left-hand side, but whatever. I try and aim to sort of follow more along the wall. So I sort of try and park at a slight angle. One thing I've come to learn is nothing bad can happen if once you've established an angle, you make sure that your steering wheel is straight. Because as long as it's straight, it can't hit against a side opening or something.
Right.
If when you're looking at your side mirror, you can't see that thing. Where you get into trouble is when you try and do like an S curve where you're sort of going in sort of straight and then you sort of turn, to the left, reversing to the left, and then adjust to the right to sort of tuck in. Of course, then what you find is your front fender, your front wheel arch will tap or scrape against the roller door opening.
Yeah,
So-
exactly.
So my little pro tip is if you're reversing and your steering wheel is straight and you can't see anything on your side mirror, wing mirror, then you'll be okay. Although do watch out for the wing mirror itself,
Yes,
because it
no,
can get
that's easy to
it can
catch
get
that one as
close.
well. Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it can get close to the to the wall,
Yeah.
but the car itself will always be fine because by physics it literally has no ability of veering off its straight track. So that's just another little pro tip.
Yeah. Okay.
Cool.
I'll
So that's the end of our parking masterclass
right. Thank you very much.
of this episode. Alrighty, have we got any other questions or comments?
Could I ask a couple of questions on insurance?
Yes, Mark. Oh, yes, of course.
Yeah, no problem. Just a quick one. A friend of mine they live in a lifestyle village. And
I
he was
qualified to actually buy one of those since I'm 55, but
and I certainly do. I can actually
go ahead.
apply for a plot, actually, where I'm going to be parked, and a headstone.
We'll all get there in the end.
Yeah. But he said somebody was just asking about putting a wall charger in, and they said it might affect their insurance, or somebody thought it might affect their insurance. Do we know anything about that? And if it does affect their insurance, would it be an increase in premiums? I was talking to Rob about it, and he said to bring it up just so everyone could actually think about it. And there's one other insurance question as well, just quickly.
Yep. Look, insurance companies love to add risk or add expense for perceived risk.
Yeah.
So the fact is there's more risk of harm occurring by tripping over the charge cord than any other risk whatsoever to do with charging of a Tesla in particular and EVs, with the exception of scooters. So I'm talking registered vehicles in general. So the total number of fires that have occurred in EVs in recent times is 2. And both of those, one was actually a Model 3 Tesla. It was in the eastern states, but it had run over debris left from some other incident. There was like metal debris left on the road, and it ran over it, and it speared the battery pack, and it caused a fire. But that's no different to any other occurrence of physical, literally disruptive damage to a car. No car in Australia has spontaneously caught on, no EV in Australia has spontaneously caught on fire as part of the process of being charged by any means in Australia. Unfortunately, there's a bit of I don't know if it's a political thing or if it's a attitudinal thing or pushback against people advocating for environmental things or climate change and rah-de-rah, whatever. But there is a pushback against EVs, and the stalking horse is, but if an EV were to catch on fire, it is harder in some respects to put out that fire immediately than it would be on a conventionally fueled vehicle such as a petrol or diesel vehicle. Because of petrol and diesel, you can just apply firefighting foam and it'll suppress it, and you deal with the runoff and blah blah.
Yeah.
A properly caught on fire battery pack, just by the way of its physics, because it effectively embodies its own oxidizer and fuel in the actual pack.
Yeah, it's all part of the cell. It's all part of the electrolyte.
Yeah, and when it deflagrates, it basically will just keep going for quite a while. And I mean, people start prattling on about, you need in fact, one of the race courses, raceways, what do you call it?
Track strips.
Racetracks. So I think it's over east has banned EVs or is banning EVs, and one of their claims is, we don't have the proper equipment to put out a fire, such as it was something like a bathtub, like an immersion tub or something that you somehow place the EV in, like almost like dunking it in a swimming pool. That sort of stuff's just hyperbole. Yes, it's true that if one catches on fire, it's a bit different to put out than a normal fire, but it has some advantages. Yes, it will be a blowtorch, but it'll be localized to where it's at. Whereas if you've got petrol and the tank ruptures, it could run downhill just like any other liquid and carry its fire onwards. So getting back to the retirement place, look, I would just I would just say, look, let's just go and put one in or ask for it to be put in. I do know that under federal government regulations, it is mandated that for new developments of a certain size, there needs to be provision made for that building and that building to be EV ready. Doesn't necessarily mean that it has to have EV chargers, but it's already contemplated in Commonwealth legislation that the charging of EVs at various buildings, including residential buildings, is a desirable thing. So I guess I'm just bringing that up to say that it's at least it's acknowledged that it's not an undesirable thing. However,
Harold, but that doesn't mean the insurer has to accept the risk and take on. That's the insurer.
That's the bit. I mean, I've read a lot about the different things, and the chances of fire is 10 times more likely a petrol car will catch fire. And it's also like 13 or 15 times more likely that a car, which is a plug-in hybrid, will catch fire because you've got both on board. But that's the way it is. All I'm saying is, do we know if you have to actually declare it to your insurance company that you've fitted an EV charger?
This is why they have T's and C's. You need to read their T's and C's. And this is why no one bloody reads them, because they're so long. And if they're not sure, you send them to a T and C or whatever. At the end of the day, Mark, if you elect to tick, yes, I accept the T's and C's, and there's a T's and C's, and there's a clause in there that says something. So you need someone to look at it. It's 100%.
So basically,
why insurance companies get away with it. It's not getting away
ridiculous.
With it. No, it's not ridiculous. Mark, we sign off on T's and C's. When was the last time anyone read T's and C's? Pete, when did you read the T's and C's?
I actually do read some of them.
That's what I'm saying.
What that you can do is you can put the onus, or at least try and put the onus on the insurance company. So you can send them an email and say, please give me a list of things that I need to declare under this policy, or guide me to the clauses in your PDS, your product disclosure statement, where it lists the disclosures that you require. And putting the onus on them. And another thing, yes, the TNCs can be incredibly long, but these days you can get the PDS in digital form, and you can just go Control F and try and
just do a search.
Electric vehicles, EVs, EVSE, EV chargers, and that sort of thing to try and make the process quicker. But also what you can do with your friend is you can tell them, this might ease their hesitation a little bit, is direct them to a website called evfiresafe.com. That's a Australian federal government supported website. And it's got pretty good stats on fires. In terms of fires in EVs, yes, they are different. By the way, there was a bus only 2 days ago in Perth that was on fire, and it took 3 hours for the fire crews to put out the fire. So, even internal combustion engine cars can take some time for the fire to be out. But the difference is that with a petrol car, the fire will start, usually it will start faster, so you have less time to get out of the car. Whereas in an EV, it will take time, so you should have plenty of time to get out of the car and get into a safe spot. But yes, once thermal runaway starts, it may take some time to put the fire out.
Yeah,
but
that's great.
it's an Australian website, but the URL or the domain name is just evfiresafe.com. No AU.
I've put it in the chat, Pete.
Oh,
great stuff. Thanks very much for that.
Yep.
Mark,
So, for example, electrocution has occurred. We found no reports or evidence of electrocution or near miss of emergency responders from submersion, whatever. This is worldwide. So in the entire world, there have been 511 verified battery fires since 2010 worldwide.
That's a hell of a big number, that 511. I bet there haven't been anywhere near that many petrol fires.
No.
In this state.
I think there's something like 8,000 a day around the world. But, you know, of course, when there is the one Tesla fire in Paris or whatever, you know, I get people that I haven't spoken to for 3 years from Europe texting me and messaging me to see if, you know, my cars are going to be okay.
Yeah.
So
that's ridiculous. Just one last quick question. I just got my insurance policy through for my Tesla from the RAC, and it's jumped up to $1,900.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cheap. They quoted
I'm from Yorkshire. That was a Yorkshire war cry.
2.7 they charged me.
2.7? Yeah. What is it? A Cybertruck?
No, it's a 2020 Model 3.
The recommendation is
I went with
Come around. Go get some more quotes.
No, I did. I got a very good quote from Zurich Insurance. It's an online one, but it was fantastic. It was 1,800, and I was happy with that.
So
read what they cover. They might not cover fire.
Yeah, but insurance companies that specifically devalue loyalty. They will absolutely and officially treat strangers better than loyal customers.
Yep.
Yeah.
So the first year you always get a good deal, and it is a good deal, and it used to always be a good deal. But as soon as you renew, you get stung. So the best thing, I heard someone on the radio say of the RAC, they would actually take out a new policy on the same car and get a discount.
I did that. I got 20%. I did that with RAC, and I did that with Budget Direct. But all they took off is 20%, and it was already 100% more than I'd paid. So I went to Zurich, and I got what you consider expensive was the cheapest quote out of 6 insurance quotes.
Yep.
Harold, I spoke with RAC.
That's great advice, that.
Exactly on what you said. For various reasons, we were doing it. We bought the Tesla. We had it with the business. I did it various different ways, and I did it with the Jag as well. And it's like, and I said to the guy, and spent an hour on the phone with the guy one day, and I said, I'm better off just going in as a new customer and doing the registration again, because the database doesn't pick it up, and with the number plate. And he said, I can't tell you this, but he said, I'm nodding. Yeah, it's like, and it was like $400 or whatever. But look, I've seen all the comments of insurance over the Tokwa and all the other sites as well. And it's like as I think Peter nailed it, and a few other people nailed it better, everyone's an individual. It depends on where you live. You might live next door to someone that has more insurance claims than anyone else in Australia. So guess what? Your insurance claims can go up. And it doesn't matter. You might be the best A1 rating person.
Yeah. Now, I spoke with one techie, and I said, listen, this doesn't make sense. Tell me really what's going on. And he said, well, the insurances have to cover all the floods.
Yep. The reinsurance
and they are spreading the extra over all of their insurances.
And that is true.
So I said, well, you know what? Cancel the policy because I'm going elsewhere.
Yeah, and that actually
but
is
all
true.
of them were very similar. There was only 10% difference amongst the 6, so they're all colluding. and Zurich.
I don't think they're
you
colluding.
can't say that. They're not
You can't say
colluding. They're
colluding.
not.
I think they're similar. Colluding's not. You've got to be careful what you say.
They cooperate. They're in lockstep because the reinsurance companies are all the same. I mean, there's only a small pool of them, and all of the insurers basically get their reinsurance from just a handful of them. And
they rely on people just committing.
Well, they rely on people wrongly presuming that loyalty is rewarded. And
but it says on the adverts they do.
Yeah, they value. No, the insurance company values your loyalty because they get more money out of you. So it's of value to them, not of value to you.
I know.
The other thing is that they do very well out of people that are paying monthly, right? And people that are paying monthly are happy to pay monthly because that's what their socioeconomic scale lets them do. So if their movement is less up and down or minus 10%, what are they going to do? I can tell you they're going to keep doing the same thing day in, day out because they're just going to, their fluctuation per week is minimal or month, whereas your fluctuation per year is 1,500 to 2,500. It's like, and
it's the same amount, but it doesn't look as much.
It's a one-off transaction. Right? Yeah. They gather it over 15 months or 12 months.
Now, incidentally, Carmen, you mentioned Zurich. So Tesla has got an official relationship with Zurich.
Yes, I tell you about it. I was thrilled.
Yeah. So, I mean, I had relayed a few weeks ago that I was, when I first got my very first Tesla, I was super excited. I waited 4 years or 5 years, whatever it was, for it. Yeah, it was 4 years. And I said, I want Tesla everything. I got Insure My Tesla, the original one, which was done by Marsh Advantage and cost a fortune. And I was just a lemming and said, yeah, just get me into this Tesla ecosystem. But then I kind of learnt and went, no, I'll just go off the RAC initially for as long as that worked. And then, like Carmen, then went to Budget Direct in my old Model S, and actually I must admit I did renew with RAC quite annoyingly, but I think next year I might get a Juniper, so it won't matter. But then if it's a Juniper, I can get an RAC policy because it'll be a new policy on a new car. And I'll get a good deal until next year. Until the year after. But yeah.
Have we heard anything about Tesla doing insurance over here yet?
They do. No, not Tesla's one. No. And I don't think we should, as Australians, we should get it all excited about Tesla's insurance policy because American insurance and European insurance is hellishly expensive. So the distance that Tesla has to do to provide a discount is not that much, but it's a little bit like buying Tesla solar cells. There's no way Tesla will ever sell a solar panel or a solar roof in Australia because in America, they think the average price per watt is $2.69 I saw on a YouTube video per watt for a solar installation. I mean, I don't know. I don't read the newspaper anymore, but I know there were newspaper ads for 6.6 kilowatt solar systems absolutely installed for less than $3,000.
Yeah. Well, 2000.
Quality though.
Well, sorry, I can't. So one at a time, Pete. I couldn't hear you probably say that. What you're going to say?
As cheap as 2,300.
Right. Whoa. Okay. So
but Pete, how good are they?
Hang on, Paul. Hang on. 2 seconds.
No, I didn't want
2 seconds, Paul. So Pete, $2,300 for a solar system, right? Which will be cash flow positive in, depending on how many years. And so how long? 2 years.
2 years, yeah.
And what would a standard warranty be, even for let's call it an inexpensive system? 5-year warranty minimum?
minimum 5 years on the inverter, minimum 12 years for a product warranty on the panels. It will have to have a 25-year performance warranty on the panels, but that performance warranty is probably not worth the paper it's written on. There should be an installation warranty of at least a couple of years, and if you're lucky, you might get a balance of system components warranty as well.
Okay, so then if
For a
you
couple-
buy your let's call it colloquially a shitty system that's super cheap, and you happen to be unlucky that it craps itself in 3 or 4 years, well, you're already actually cash flow positive compared to paying. My first solar system, I paid, it was ridiculous, $20,000 for a 5 kilowatt system, and all I got was 5 kilowatts of panels, mind you. So I got roundly ripped off by a nationwide company, experts in solar. That's not their name, but they've touted themselves being experts in solar. And yeah, I mean, it used Fronius, and I like Fronius, and it used, REC panels. Well, I don't live in that house anymore, so I don't care what those panels are doing, So prices. So I'm just getting. Sorry, that was a long way of going for prices. Insurance in the US and America and Europe is hellishly expensive. So I don't think, Mark, with Tesla insurance, proper insurance, unless Tesla really sharpened their pencil, I don't think it'll ever come here, to be honest. But look,
Yeah,
it's
good
not.
point. Is that very good point?
I'm going to. It's not often that I disagree with Harold, but I'm going to put forward a opposing opinion. I think Tesla insurance will come to Australia. God, I'm hoping they will. Yeah, I'm hoping they will be able to undercut everyone else for the really good drivers, and using the car's telematics, using a rating system out of 10, because the car has got
How's that going to help you, Pete?
Yeah, it'll kill you, Pete, because your renters will just
No, he'll get all his friends to drive the car for him.
It will benefit. He'll
get the kids to drive the car.
No. You guys don't realise I've got 2 insurances because I have to. So there's one insurance company that insures the cars while they're rented out, and then they're insured separately while me and my wife are driving them.
Yeah.
So it's for that insurance policy while me and my wife are driving that I'd have the Tesla insurance for. But I'm hoping that they'll also be able to insure cars that are rented out. And yeah, if that helps, I think they should still be able to, still be able to undercut the competition. Definitely, if let's say someone rents my car who's already a Tesla driver, and Tesla already has the statistics of how they drive their car, then they should be able to get a discount based on their driving record in their own car. There are other things that increase the chances of an accident while you're driving a rental car, because you're in different circumstances, you're driving the car a lot more, you don't know where you're going, so you're using the navigation system, you're out of your usual routine, you're not parking the car in your garage at home every night, you're on the side of the road or where have you. So there are a lot of additional risks, but I'm sure Tesla can work all those additional risks into it. But yeah, if it's someone that's driven a Tesla before, Tesla's already got their record, they should be able to get it at a lower rate. And for those that have never driven a Tesla before, they can go on the host. So if the host does the right thing and explains, takes their time in explaining how the car works and how to drive it safely, etc., and has a track record of, low number of accidents, then that should be reflected. So yeah, look, a lot of hope against hope there, but I'm going to say that in 2025 they'll be in Australia. Because
what you mean is you hope they will be. You don't.
Yes.
It's more hope. Whereas I think they'll be here before the end of this decade.
Well, I'm willing to put money on that, Harold.
Okay, lottery ticket, boys.
Yeah.
I'll educate. I'm going to write this down.
It's recorded. It's at 1:15, so that's at about
Okay.
the 1:45 mark into the show.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
So
No,
Harold,
it's only kidding, Pete. That's it. I'm hoping they actually bring it over too. One day, SpaceX might be able to catch a rocket falling out the sky.
oh, look, come on.
exactly.
I,
Today didn't quite happen today, but on the 19th of October, was it?
He
they-
did then. He did then.
Successfully chopstick it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I did have my hand up, but Harold didn't acknowledge it. So
Yeah,
I'm
so,
just
yeah,
gonna
no,
jump in.
I was about to get to you, Paul, but
That's
you
okay.
then put it down, and then that confused me. So yeah, go.
That's okay. I was going to say, Pete, I love what you're saying, and I think it's fantastic. But the big thing with what you're saying is, are people going to be compatible with sharing their information? Because if they don't share their information,
They already do. They already do. Paul.
Yeah.
no,
You're
they
gonna do
do,
it
but they can
Tesla.
elect not to. I can elect not to share my information, so
Yeah.
I can be a Tesla driver and share and not share.
Absolutely, and then you can pay
No,
the same.
and that's what's going to happen with the insurance. They're going to look at it and go bang, and that's how insurance companies work now. It's
No,
like,
Paul, no, but Tesla Insurance works on the basis that you have to have the telematics operating for it to determine your score.
Sure.
And without a favorable score, you don't get a favorable price. So therefore,
Exactly.
Tesla Insurance isn't even in the ballpark for you. So that's a precondition. Tesla says we will offer insurance, but it's on the basis that the car analyzes your behavior, and you will be charged a flat fee. And I don't know whether it's you get the basic fee, which is the high fee, and then you get a sliding discount on your level of betterness compared to the average or percentile or whatever. But it's all done up front. It's all done on the basis, yes, we are Tesla. We see your car. You give us permission. In fact, it's in the app. In America, you get ratings, and people
okay, so
apply.
Pete, you were saying that would go across with you if you were renting.
Yeah, and don't forget.
Okay,
people,
sorry, I understand that now. What you're saying. Yeah.
People are very willing to share their information if there's something in it for them. And if there's a discount, I mean, we share Facebook and social media just for the convenience of having a social network. So, but yeah, if there's something in it for people, if there's a discount on insurance, people will be volunteering that information left, right, and centre if they think they're a good driver and they'll get a discount. If they know they're a bad driver and they won't get a discount, they will definitely know that information.
Yeah.
But how does the car know that it is the owner driving?
Well, as soon as so when I give access to my renters through the app, if they already have an account, then so they get into the car, and it's just like getting into their own car because their profile, their driving profile is
Yeah,
up
but
in
what
the
about
cloud.
if you're casually have your husband, wife, cousin, sister driving?
Boyfriend, girlfriend.
Yeah.
Yeah, they will pollute your statistics. That's correct. So in America, if you got Tesla, and Colin, I'll see your hand, and I'll get to you in a moment. But in America, under Tesla Insurance, it's the car is they don't have multiple drivers being insured separately for each month. So the monthly cost under the Tesla insurance, the proper Tesla insurance in America, is polluted by anyone that drives that car. That's just the way.
Linked to the car. It's linked to the car rather than the profile, and that is definitely a flaw. It's the same as with the strikes, the autopilot strikes. They're linked to the car rather than the driver, and that frustrates me to no end. When I'm renting my cars out. So yeah, absolutely, it should be linked to the driver. The excuse is, well, then if someone gets a strike, they could just set up another driver profile. But Tesla is the most advanced, arguably the most advanced software company, definitely in the automotive space. So surely they can do things like, face recognition. They know how heavy that person is. If that same person 2 days ago and weighed 85 kilos, and now they only weigh 60 kilos. Well, no one loses 25 kilos in 2 days. So there's a lot of things that they could do. Yeah.
Don't
No,
forget,
I think that's too complicated. I think the only way would be to have some sort of name as to who the driver is if it's other than the owner.
Well,
to
that happens automatically. As soon as I give access to someone else through my app, Tesla knows who that person is because they had to have set up their Tesla account. They could have put a false name in, but they would have had to have verified their email address, definitely, and I think their telephone number as well. I'm not too sure.
Yeah,
but
isn't it
Maybe
credit
their
cards as
credit
well?
card, Pete.
Yeah.
Oh, credit card. Yes, exactly. Yeah, good point,
Yeah.
Steve. Yeah.
Well, I heard on the radio today in 6PR that an insurance saying anybody can drive your car and it won't make any difference to the price.
Yes, that's because all Australian insurance is just a flat price on according to the car, the address, what you state the garaging situation is, whether it's a carport or a secure location, and the demographics of the policyholder. Then they claim once that price is settled, it doesn't matter who you then allow your car to be driven by, except there are age excesses. So if the driver is less than 25 or has less than X number of years of experience, then there are separate excesses that add on top of that. But what we were discussing before, Carmen, was Tesla's insurance is done on a completely different basis. That is done on the detected, proven safety that Tesla determines is safe behavior, and people will criticize it because if there's a so-called emergency braking situation, you get points off, but that will often be due to phantom braking, like something that the car is detecting that is incorrect, and if it slams the brakes on while you're driving the car, that's a black mark against your name, which is kind of unfair and all that sort of stuff. But there are no insurance companies in Australia yet that do that kind of thing yet. Don't make no mistake. They will try and get you to put dongles. They'll try and get you to have active behavior tracking apps on your phone, and they will use the stalking horse of we'll give you a discount or some member benefits or whatever. But what they really want to do is they want to analyze your driving behavior so they can risk adjust you to a higher premium, because that's what it's all about, risk adjustment to a higher premium.
Or say you've breached out T's and C's, which is simple.
Yes, exactly. Colin's had his hand up patiently for quite a while. So, Colin, I'm going to throw to you.
Thanks, all. Yeah, just wondering if anyone has any good tyre recommendations for a Model Y, and particularly if anyone knows about whether any Pirelli are any good for a Model Y, because the My Car Black Friday 50% off Pirelli sales coming up in a week or two. So I was curious if anyone's had any experience with a Pirelli on a Model Y.
Yep.
I'll just jump in quickly. I haven't, so don't know anything about Pirelli. I have used the Hankook Evo something, the super expensive EV tyres. Only reason why I picked them was because I have a tread wear index of 600. And in my humble opinion, for me, it's all about the higher the tread wear number, the better, because it hopefully means that they don't wear out as soon, as quickly. But
I was told Toyo or Pirelli, and I take my car to Claremont.
Yep.
Colin, I've used about 5 or 6 different brands, and even down to the cheaper ones. And I haven't really noticed a difference in driving and in wear either. So they all seem to wear roughly the same. the tread wear index is a very good indicator, but even with, maybe it's just the way, because I rent the cars, the way people drive my cars. But I'm still, even with the renters, I'm still getting 40, 50,000 kilometres out of some of the tyres. So, even some of the cheaper ones. So these days, 10 years ago, you went for a cheaper tyre and you'd really know it. These days, even some of the Chinese brands are pretty good.
Okay. Yeah. Then just for anyone.
That sounds really good. If it is actually literally 50% off, that is a good
Yeah,
deal.
I was just going to say there's no guarantee it's going to happen again, but the last few years, my car on Black Friday and only on Black Friday has offered 50% off all Pirelli tires for any car. And you have to book it on that day. So I once spent like 2 hours on hold on the phone to them because it gets that popular. Apparently the best option is to actually just walk into a store and book it with them in person. But yeah, they've done it the last probably 3 or 4 years, and yeah, it's 50% off any Pirelli tires, and you can get them installed within a few months of the day. You just have to book it on Black Friday.
How much are the cheapest Pirelli tires for a Model Y? Do you know?
The ones that show, I looked it up the other day. The ones they were about when you do it. I put in the reg of it's for my mum because her tires are getting a bit thin, and so I put her reg in. It's a 2022 Model Y. And there were 5 different Pirelli models that came up for that as fitting the car. Only one of them was marked as being an EV tyre, so I don't know how critical that is. But they were all about 700 a tyre, give or take.
Okay.
So if
So
you're
half
then
price
they're 350 a tyre, give or take, something along those lines.
I've put on tyres between sort of $200 and $300 and have not had issues. The main thing you want to make sure is, that you've got the right speed rating and the right weight rating for the car. I forget it will tell you on the tyre. I've got it written down. I'll look it up in a second and I'll put it in the chat.
The website should have already done that because that would have pre-filtered it according to the model of the car. So those websites should be smart enough to know that.
Yeah, you do have to be a little careful. A couple of years ago, I used the website to put a couple of tires onto my Subaru Outback a couple of years ago, and it gave me some. They actually called me up after I booked it all in, and they said, "Do you sure you want this tire? It's some sort of BMW specific tire or something." I was like, "No," and they actually ended up giving me a different tire that better fit the Outback. So you do have to be a little bit careful.
Yeah,
right, cool. Richard.
So what you want to look at is the load index. So that gives you the weight. And the other one is the speed rating symbol. And you can just look it up online and it goes from like A1 right up to Z, which is the speed rating. And the load index goes, anywhere from 62 to about 126. So just make sure you get the right load index and the right speed rating for your car. In terms of the EV specific tyres, I've tried, when I first had my first Model 3, I tried, forget what the brand was, it was an Italian tyre as well. And they had 2 tyres that were identical. The only difference is one had the noise cancelling foam inside, and the other one didn't. And the original tyres had the foam in them. So I thought, okay, I'll just try it. And I only tried it on 2 tyres. And I thought, if it's too loud, I'll never do it again. And I could not tell the difference. I'm sure that if you had a decibel meter in there, you would have been able to tell the difference. But I couldn't. And half the time I've got the aircon on or the radio playing, so it really made no difference. But the foam was a $40 difference per tyre. So that's $160 across 4 tyres, or $200 if you include the spare. So not that Teslas have a spare, but if you keep a spare.
If you need to patch the tyre, it's a real pain for the tyre guys to hack out that bit of foam. Just ask me if you want. Just ask me why I know. But because I've actually seen them hacking it out, and it's a pain. Richard Chapman.
Yeah.
Oh, and sorry,
Colin,
Colin, I'm going to come back to you with a Dorothy Dixer question for the answer which I already know you'll know. So stand by. But yeah,
Okay.
Richard.
I think Colin pretty much, pipped me to the post because one of the guys at work, he's got a Model Y, and he was just asking me basically what's the cheapest tire he can get for a Model Y, long range. And like I think Harold, you pretty much answered it by saying the Hankook EV tire. I guess just for completeness, what's like the cheapest decent tire that you can get for a Y?
I'll go outside and have a look what brand I've got on my. I can't even remember what I've got on there.
Thanks, mate. I said I'd ask tonight. So, but look, I took your advice, Harold, on the X to go for those tires that you found that had the highest treadwear rating. And
yeah,
brilliant tires. Oh, great. And you're not sacrificing anything either. So,
No.
I've had to do a couple of pretty abrupt stops, as you do, but and they've been great. So I don't have any hesitation in recommending those. But yeah, you're right. The upfront cost is high. I think like what hasn't helped is that he spent quite a lot of money on the tires that Tesla recommended, and he's been unlucky and had 2 or 3 punctures, and he's had to. And they, I think 2 out of the 3 they couldn't be repaired. So and he took it to Tesla every time, which is obviously it's often a more premium thing. So I think he's just been unlucky. But I said I'd ask, what the cheapest tire was that was, all right.
And to be clear, I know there'll be people who will say, look, the specs say that you have, these are performance cars, and you need to have, if you're not Michelin's or Primo Pirellis or whatever, then you're not doing it right. Let's face it, most of us drive our Teslas, even though they drive like rockets, potentially. Most of us drive them like, Sunday drivers. We don't care about snow performance, track speed, G ratings of the sidewalls and all that sort of stuff. We're just doing a daily driver. We're not using we're not on autobahns, and we're not on racetracks. We're just driving the cars normally.
Richard, I just have my Model Y. I've got Kumos on there at the moment.
Kumos, okay.
But I do remember there was a Neo Sport, so Neo Sport. Pretty sure that was a Chinese brand.
Sorry, could you spell that again? I'm just typing it down.
I think that was the cheapest that I was able to find.
Neo Sport.
About what's that, Harold?
Oh, sorry. Richard wanted you to say what it was that the tire was, and I just said that it's a Neo Sport. Neo Sport.
Got it. Cool.
Yeah, but since then I found the Kumos, which were actually I found them on sale, and they were actually cheaper than the Neo Sports. So that's why I went the Kumos. But yeah,
Brilliant.
quite often what I've noticed is the cheap Chinese brands tend to be the cheapest throughout the year, but the more familiar brands, you'll find every now and then they will have sales, and they can actually be cheaper than the Chinese brands when they're on sale.
Yep.
So that's the time to get them when they're on sale. But just make sure
that's great advice. Yeah.
Just make sure you're not getting a tire that's been sitting in inventory somewhere for 2 years or something, because the tires do age even while they're sitting in storage. So you don't want tires that are too old either.
Yep, fair enough. Great advice.
Cool. Now, Colin, following on from I think it was last week, where you were asking about vehicle to grid, then obviously that got us both going down a rabbit hole. And there's a bit of good news. I mean, it is actually good news. So I know that a company, I think in Germany, which has actually got a twist, it's got an Australian twist, which is, it's kind of reminding me of the Toyota Lexan, but we'll get to that in a minute. There's a company in Germany that has already done the experiment on a standard Model Y, and they've established with their charger that they can discharge a standard Model Y through the DC path. Colin, do you recall what that company was called?
Called Ambibox is the company.
That's it.
And the news earlier in the week is that Red Earth over in Brisbane is going to be manufacturing Ambibox's bidirectional chargers in Australia.
Which
next
I
year.
don't believe for a moment. I think they're going to be badge engineering, which is why I mentioned the Toyota Lexan. Lexan, sorry, not Lexan, Lexan, which was a Holden Commodore, badge engineered in the late 80s or early 90s when that was a big thing amongst many car companies in Australia. They all badge engineered each other's models to make them look different and for people to think it was different. I don't believe that Red Earth for a moment is actually going to be manufacturing anything. I noticed that they had that charger, which in Germany is white. They had it in their dark grey colour with their logo on it, and I think that's all it's going to be, is a specification that they're going to bring them in. But I mean, look, I could be wrong.
I'm sure they're going to build it from scratch, Harold. Absolutely positive.
But the great news is, notionally, it does work. And that's a good thing. And I think it was also stated in that press release that, or it was believed that the price was going to be substantially less than the $10,000 that previous CHAdeMO-based
Quasar
charging.
one.
Yeah.
Which is what you'd expect. Like now that the standard's approved, and now there's going to be, now people are going to make bidirectional chargers that comply with the standards, and the market's going to evolve. It absolutely makes sense. The cost is going to come right down once that market gets established.
Well, I hope that the big inverter companies such as Fronius, Victron, what's your charger? Your inverter, Richard Chapman, Solar. What's that called?
SolarEdge.
SolarEdge, yeah, and others.
SolarEdge.
Yeah, because like I said, as an electronics engineer, and I do know a little bit about the protocol that those DC chargers use, there's nothing expensive required to effectively connect a hybrid inverter to your car using a CCS cable, because the hybrid inverters have got everything safety-wise that is required. And that includes my Fronius inverter every night at 3 a.m. or 4 a.m. has to disconnect its BYD batteries and perform an open circuit, insulation test on the installation by law, because it's grid interactive. If it was off-grid, like a Victron system, they don't need to do that because they're not connected to the grid. As soon as you touch the grid law says you have to perform an isolation test on a battery energy storage system every 24 hours. So all of these inverters that, and again, we spoke about solar, are very reasonably priced. They only really need a very small module and a CCS cable, and they can then implement vehicle to grid or vehicle to house.
Quick question. How do you think that will affect Tesla's warranty if there's a problem with the battery? So if it's got nothing to do with the V2C under consumer law, it can't affect the warranty. But what if your battery degrades faster than it should, and you try and make a claim under your warranty, and you have been charging through an Ambibox, let's say, or discharging the battery through it?
I think what Tesla could do to make it fair to everyone, including itself, is to say that for every kilowatt hour of discharging through a DC apparatus, that they would count that divided by number of average watt hours per kilometre and add that to your battery odometer, let's call it. So you've got your car odometer. So Tesla's standard warranty is 8 years and 160,000
something like that. Yeah.
For the battery pack. So what Tesla could do, let's say once vehicle to home or grid becomes a thing, a proper thing, is, and they allow it by policy, so they say that they will allow their cars to do that. They're not obliged to, mind you, but they can allow their cars to do that. They may say, we will allow this, however, for every like I said, for every kilowatt hour of home usage from your car, we will count that towards a separate odometer reading on the battery. So we'll add up the car's odometer plus the additional battery drain odometer and say that that is their limited warranty. Now, under consumer law, that's still okay because warranties count for nothing under consumer law. If you wanted to take a case where you were using your vehicle to grid a lot, you would have to mount the case that it's reasonable to use that to drain X thousand kilowatt hours, whatever, and your battery should still have a certain capacity. But that's, I think, what will happen, Pete. That's what ought to happen.
The bit that I thought was interesting in the article was describing the independent test that Ambibox did that proved it worked, was they were basically doing that for their own knowledge to see if they could make it work. And they said they had no intention of releasing what they'd done as a commercial product, and they would wait. They were basically leaving it for Tesla to come up with however Tesla wanted to do that as a solution. And, I'm sure they're expecting that whatever Tesla comes up with, their bidirectional charger would be able to work with it. But yeah, I think we'll have to wait for Tesla to figure out how they want to sort of sanctify it.
They were scared that Tesla were going to sue their pants off and threaten them that if you provide this as a means, because, for example, there are quite a few Model 3s and Ys that have unlimited supercharging. So what a great thing, free supercharging. So what a great thing to do. Take your car to the supercharger, fill it up and use it all overnight to heat your house, especially if it's a nuclear winter or whatever, like a Northern Hemisphere winter. So Tesla would be quite concerned, and unfortunately human nature has it that humans will go to extraordinary lengths to get themselves a small discount. So for those cars, you'd have to then say, well, we will not allow you to go and get free supercharging for the purpose of using that energy in your house. So I think they've contemplated, they didn't want to declare something as done for fear of being sued by having a cease and desist and basically having their product cancelled before it even gets off the ground. But like I said, notionally on a system point of view, all a fast DC charger does after talking to the car is to say to the car, I'm about to charge you. How much do you want? What's your voltage? In fact, I think the voltage even tastes itself. So the charger can taste that voltage when it gets connected on the initial connection. But basically all the charger has to do, or this charger, is get the car to present the battery terminals to the connector. That, in other words, close the contactor and establish an electrical connection. There is no other technology. It's not like there's a special means of having it flow out of the battery or into the battery. It's literally no different to getting a 9-volt battery and connecting it to something. It's just that these are 400-volt batteries. But so there's no technology. That's what I keep trying to say is there is no technological achievement that has to be done. It's already there. It's just that at the moment, because it's new, people are being charged through the nose for it. And again, is it the Ambibox or whatever? The thing with that is they're providing a specific inverter and a charger module for that purpose. But if you have your own hybrid solar inverter, you just effectively connect the car as a secondary battery pack. That's all you do. So it's a little bit like if you have a solar system in your house now, you buy a Powerwall 3, that is expensive. If you have a brand new house and no solar, and you just have solar panels erected, and then just buy a Powerwall 3, which contains its own inverter, then that's actually not such a bad deal, because for $12,000 or $13,000, a Powerwall with 13.5 kilowatt hours of storage and an inverter with 3 MPPT inputs, was it 6? I can't remember, is not a bad deal, including the battery storage. But if you've already got an inverter, the Powerwall is expensive because you basically got redundant equipment. So again, I think the real market will happen in the next few years when hopefully the Fronius and all the other solar inverter manufacturers effectively develop their own interface to do vehicle to grid via CCS. And then that'll flatten the entire landscape and it'll make it viable for all of us. Except, I forget, it was you, Pete, that was talking about what about your usage of the battery pack? Again, that's something you've got to judge yourselves. You know, if you exercise that pack a lot on wheels, it's expensive. And why wouldn't you just go and buy some stationary storage and just keep it there in the corner of your shed or something, or storeroom? But anyway, actually, time's gotten away from us a bit. We're about 15 minutes over time, which is cool because X doesn't care anymore about, I think videos can go to 3 hours, but let's not get back into that habit. As much as it is good to be bigger than Ben-Hur, sometimes it's best to leave the classics to themselves. Pete,
I miss those days.
and one day we will do a talk around the clock.
Ooh.
I think we'll do it in shifts. Well, some of us, some of the softer of those will do it in shifts, and the true believers will just do the whole 24 hours. But we'll probably tie it with raising money or some good cause anyway. We'll try and work something out one day. But anyway, Pete, how would you round out an awesome show like this as if we didn't already know?
As always, stay safe. You're a legend, Sandra. Stay sustainable and stay
hero.
Could not agree more. And the best way to do that is buy a Tesla, which Sandra actually eventually did do. So good on you, Sandra.
Not a why.
Join TOCWA and ask us anything about accelerating the world's transition to sustainable energy. Have a wonderful week, everyone, and I really do look forward to seeing you on next week's episode of Ask Us Anything. Good night, everyone.
No, thank you.